Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Dragonmark Symphony here on Natural One Media. My name is Dylan. I'll be your DM for the evening, and I'm here with all my friends. As we kick right back into it, last time that we had met up, our adventuring party was deep down in the sewers, where they had sort of gathered around a ladder leading back up to the surface.
Deep
Uh,
down the sewers.
deep
We're
down in the sewers.
we're down in the pits quite literally.
After the after a little bit of investigating, Silva floated up to the surface and came into contact with two humanoid figures who turned out to be guards for the King's Citadel, which was a happy coincidence because that was where they were intending to go.
But boy, were
Uh,
we not happy about it after about 5 minutes of this or especially with Set not having done it after 5 minutes of conversation.
some
Being fired.
tense negotiations followed before Caspian Durant was able to calm down the situation, and the party was reminded that Caspian does in fact have a last name.
Which I did remember.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It did naturally come to you, which is the best way.
That's great. Do you remember what Vron's last name was?
What? I think
Absolutely
Ron,
Oh, did
Our
I can't-
players made their way into the King's Citadel, led in by the guards, where they were brought to sort of like a war room, a gathering room, filled with people, all kinds of representatives, all gathered around this massive table with this magically produced layout of the nearby Broken Blade Castle. And it was at this table, at the head of the table, stood a man referred to as Vron, who seemed to be sort of leading the planning and the strategy that was going on, the strategery, in figuring out how they're going to rescue the king as well as the rest of the royal family and the hostages who are currently being held inside the castle right now by the Rogue Warforged. There were many discussions about the travels that you all had taken, where you had gone and the information that you had uncovered along the way and how it correlated with the information that the Citadel had. And then additional help was deemed necessary, and one Cassouary Dubois was summoned to this war room to provide additional information about the castle's construction. With Cassouary present, he revealed that at some point during a restoration project for the castle years ago, there was the possibility that a secret door had been installed into the northern wall of Broken Blade Castle under strict scrutiny and potentially approved by Three, who is a warforged that has acted as sort of the right hand of the king for a long time, and who seems to be responsible for this sort of takeover by the other warforged. However, as the conversation continued, the adventuring parties attempt to probe further into the intentions of Cassouary's colleagues, whom they had had the opportunity to meet at the Velvet Curtain, resulted in Cassouary becoming very caged and very nervous and not wanting to say too much more out of fear of reprimand. With time ticking away, and the seriousness of the issue at hand, Vron gave approval of some sort to Caspian, who produced a small silvery metallic device in hand and activated it. And upon doing so, the entire room was washed in this bright, brilliant white light that completely obscured everyone's vision of everything around them. And that is where we had left off. So,
Can we see?
this light encapsulates all of you. You cannot see anything but blinding whiteness. You cannot even see each other.
It's like right now.
For all you're aware of, you are completely alone in this moment. You feel a ringing in your ears, as if an incredibly loud noise has just gone off and nearly fractured your eardrum. Your heads feel fuzzy, discombobulated. It's difficult to kind of make sense of anything. What's the floor? What's the ceiling? There's nothing around you to use as a reference point. It's just all bright light. And then the world sort of fades in and reconstructs itself around you. And as it does, you are able to see what begin as shadows, but then sharpen. Detail takes further clarity, and you begin to see your fellow adventuring partners sort of appearing around you. And as the world around you is sort of thrown into sharper relief, you find that you are in what appears to be a very large room. Extremely large, with a magnificent crackling fireplace on the back wall, enormous mantle over top, lined with like all kinds of like artifacts and trophies and what appear to be like illustrated images that have been framed behind glass. Indeed, these images line the walls, along with what appear to almost be like trophy heads of monsters and beasts of all sorts that have been hunted. The ceiling is vaulted and it stands 25 feet up in the air, almost cathedral-like. The room laid out before you houses several chairs, something that almost appears to be akin to a fainting couch, a couple glass ornate tables covered in various potpourri and items, and sitting in some of these chairs are a small group of people. One of the people, a woman, bluish tinged skin, blonde hair, looks up from a long piece of rolled out parchment, on which a magical autonomous quill is sort of dancing away. She looks up at the other people that are seated. So, remind me again where the other packages are coming from. Across from her, an older gentleman, hair sort of slicked back, bit of a cuff, chiseled face, sort of slouched forward, one hand resting on an ornate cane, with an eagle's head on the top of it, leans forward and says, "Yes, well, the rest of the packages are supposed to be coming in from House Orion, in the following spring. We'll be able to put them with the rest of them in the bunker, and then, from there, we can actually begin moving, the potion stack, westward. The plan is to keep to the westward route, but if we need to, we could, of course, break south, if we want to avoid any of the crossroads." The woman just sort of nods politely while the quill continues to scribble frantically away at the parchment. At this moment, there is a heavy knock on a door. And as y'all turn to look, you realize now that there is, in fact, a door on the opposite end of the room, a massive double door. And you see as it opens wide an orc dressed almost in like tuxedo fare, very well dressed, smock coat, long tails, opens the door and bows deeply and says, Master Landis, your other guests have arrived. And Horak Landis looks up and says, yes, let them in, please. There is much to discuss after all. And you see a few people walk in through these large doors. The person at the front is a younger gentleman, tall, looking fairly dignified, well dressed, but nothing too flashy. You recognize the sorrowfulness of his features, the darkened shadows under the eyes, the swept back hair. And trailing shortly behind him is another woman, Triton, wearing a beautiful dress, large pillowy shoulders to it, sort of a pale pink in color. She clutches a enormous bag that has like sort of like a reptilian skin to it. And behind her there is a small gentleman, beard, slightly unkempt hair, glancing around very nervously, taking in all the details as he walks. The three of them walk forward and eventually take some of the unoccupied seats around the fire as Landis looks to them all, sort of a surly smile on his face. Friends, it is good to see you again. It has been too long now. What is it, a month, 2 months? I have lost track of time. The Triton woman speaks. Her voice is something of a gurgle. Yes, well, perhaps you should invite us more often, Landis. We were beginning to suspect that you did not want to enjoy our company any longer. Oh, nonsense. Oh, Cassandra, you know that it is always a delight to be in your company. And, Sander, it is good to see you, no longer skulking about. Sander Toxley makes eye contact with Landis. Yes, always good to meet with friends, especially in times such as these. Old friends and new. And the second gentleman, sort of still kind of looking around, taking everything in, says, that must be my cue. Hi, Cassowary Dubois. It is a pleasure to finally meet you, Mr. Landis. I've heard so many amazing things about you, of course. Landis says, yes, Mr. Dubois. He reaches a hand out, and Cassowary sort of hesitates for a moment and goes, yes, yes, indeed. Landis says, welcome to my humble abode. I'm kidding. I know, it's fantastic. So I understand that the three of you have been rather busy. I have been hearing the darndest things from the university about some of your work. What's this about you expanding out an entire wing for under 10,000 platinum? Surely you're selling your talent short, my good man. And Cassowary says, "Oh, you have to understand. See, the expansion of the wing is actually going to allow for uh the addition of more floors to the library, which is very important to the university itself, and the well, the president of the university has assured me that if significant contributions can be made, they could perhaps put my name in one of the wards of the library. It would be such an honor to have that. Of course, the real reward is the work itself, but to be recognized for my contributions would be quite lovely. And as this conversation is happening, I want all of you to make an insight check.
Natural 20.
Yo.
Nice.
10?
For a total of 21.
Natural 11.
Nice.
Natural 8, 10 with my bonuses.
Damn.
Oh, it's a natural 10, so 11.
19 total.
Okay.
But what's the natural? Partial.
Silva. You recognize as you speak to your puppo, that none of the people in the room have taken notice of any of you yet, which is odd because you're standing about 3 feet away from them. They're fully immersed in their conversation. None of them have looked in your direction to acknowledge you in any way. The other odd thing is that when the 3 people, Sander, Cassandra, and Cassowary, walked over to take a seat, they walked through Nathaniel. You're pretty confident that it wasn't just like a trick of the light. It seemed like they walked through Nathaniel.
I mean,
Really easy. He's a 2D cutout.
okay. Well, that's the thing. So, we were brought here under, because obviously, we were just in a fucking war room.
I do have more.
Huh?
I do have more.
Okay.
Set
Yes.
with the 21. 2 things. One, the room that is being presented around you is a very deep dark maroon color. The walls are dark brown. There are these incredibly large sweeping velvet curtains draped across all the windows. The room itself is very dark, and only the fire in the fireplace is what's giving most of the light. But there's something to the room and to your vision that is also this kind of maroon tint. It's like you're viewing everything through like a shoddy Instagram filter. It's like really tinted in a strange way. The second thing you catch is Caspian. Caspian has moved from where you all are standing, and has gone over to a couple of nearby dressers, and like a writing desk over on the wall, and has started looking at everything. He's kind of like, it looks like he's like actively searching for something, is frantically looking through everything that's there. And he doesn't seem to be paying any mind to the conversation that's happening.
All right. I'll go up by where Caspian is and just kind of. Caspian, can we help you look for something?
I want some of you to keep paying attention to the conversation. Documents. We want to look for documents. Anything that they kept out in the open. We won't be able to open any of the drawers. But if there's anything they left out in the open, anything that's visible, any kind of evidence, maybe previous contracts, blueprints, anything of the sort. Let's see. He looks over his shoulder. Yes, Dak.
Prince Caspian, is this a dream?
No, not quite. We're currently in. God, I wish I had more time to explain. I know this is cliche. We're currently inside of Cassowary's memories. We have about 2 more minutes.
Shit. Okay. I will then start like opposite end of the room from where Caspian is, start helping him with the investigation, and just say, everyone else pay attention to the conversation. I'm going to help Caspian look for these documents.
All right, investigation check, please.
Dak is going to go up to Cassowary's head and just start sticking his hand in it. I'm presuming.
You, like a ghost, your hand just
Ghost.
goes right through without any resistance.
Dirty 20.
You feel nothing. It's literally just like putting your hand through a projector.
Dak just keeps doing that while listening.
You said 23?
Dirty 20. So
Dirty 20. You look around the walls. You see, dozens of portraits of like different people all throughout the years. Some of them seem to have been commissioned portraits of Landis himself, as he is sort of, going through all these different activities that he's done over the years. You see medals of achievement for his time in the last war, letters of marque, certificates, all kinds of things that he sort of adorned this room with. You do see a commissioned illustration. It is Landis in full military gear, with several medals that are pinned to his chest. He is standing and posing with sort of like a stock smile, hand in hand, with a very tall Warforged, wearing, these heavily armored pauldrons, heavy set armor over top, similarly with medallions across the chest that you recognize to be 3.
Sure.
And there is a caption written underneath in cursive that reads, "Comrades in arms, 8 years strong."
Interesting.
The rest of you, the conversation continues as Cassowary has been explaining sort of the benefits of what this additional wing is going to do for the library of the Wargrave University. The conversation drifts a little bit. The Triton, Cassandra, speaks up. She says, I have a cousin who works in the library, has done so for multiple years now. She was saying that there is rumor that the royal family will be taking away some of the grants provided to the university and putting it towards defense contracts. Have you heard anything of this, Landis? And Landis sort of, the eyebrows furrow a bit, and he goes, well, I can't say I have myself, though that does sound very worrying. I reckon perhaps Emerson may know a thing or two about that. But alas, he is on holiday at the moment. I don't think it's entirely out of the question. After all, we are still in post-war times, if not in wartime, and there is always the possibility that the enemy will take this opportunity to counterattack. I imagine that the royal family is just as paranoid as many of us are. Anyone who fought in the war really is, well, let's just say that most of us sleep with one eye open nowadays.
It's called trauma.
Cassowary Dubois says, "Oh, and the library's not the only thing that I'm working on, you gotta keep yourself busy. I have many projects that I'm working on. I have several blueprints outlined. I, uh, you know, I probably shouldn't say anything, but there is a contract that recently came across my desk that I found very interesting, and I may pursue it." And Landis says, "I'm assuming that this is for the commissioner, the local." And Cassowary, there's like a gleam in his eyes, and he said, "Think higher, actually." And Landis, in eyebrow, cocks, and he goes, "Oh, are you telling me you might be doing a construction for the royal family?" And Cassowary says, "Again, I shouldn't say too much. I've already said too much, but it's private business. The clientele must be able to keep their secrets." And Landis says, "Have you tried any of my wine?" And Cassowary says, "Your wine?" "Yes. I got it bottled. Amazing the things that you find in the jungle. Deathder. And the orc, the doors swing open and the orc steps in. "Yes, Deathder, fetch me my finest 17th from the cellars, please. The vintage, it's a special." Deathder goes, "Yes, sir." Bows very deeply and closes the door behind. Set.
Yes.
You continue your search around the room. You see on a cabinet, very small cabinet, shoulder height. You see that there is a bundle of letters sitting on the cabinet. Envelope. They have already been stamped with a wax seal. If you would like, you could try to read them.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we can't interact with them, but they're just sitting out.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'll definitely go over there, and I'll have had like a small piece of parchment out and like something to like just jot like quick like shorthand notes on, just to keep track of anything.
The writing on these envelopes is it's difficult to read. It's very quickly written, very articulate script. So I will need you to make a perception check for me to see if you can decipher.
Sure. It is an 8.
Okay. You are able to a couple of the envelopes. Unfortunately, you're not able to quite make out what it is that they're saying. There's a weird fuzziness that's kind of coming over you. Two of the envelopes, though, you are able to make out. Both of them, the provider is Horak Landis, and so it is labeled as such, Horak Landis. But the recipient is different. On one of the envelopes, the recipient is Petalburg Van Horten.
Hmm.
Interesting.
The second envelope is addressed to Victoria Skeevel.
All right.
And I'm afraid those are the only envelopes you get with that roll.
It's hard to say anything with that one. Anything can be involved with that woman because she is just literally like I don't think she would only ever be on her own side. In terms
Well,
of anything.
I think really what this is pointing to is actually more so like when we first heard of this group of people, they were getting into like the property owning management, trying to like take over like more and more properties and stuff. So it was probably reaching out and being like, hey, I want to buy like your area, I want to do stuff like that. That's a
Sure, yeah.
big possibility.
Oh yeah, sure. Regarding even if there was like somehow an implication that she could be involved in this, it would just be like, to what end? What are her motivations?
Does she even remember? Who knows?
Would know.
Back to the conversation.
Mhm.
The Triton woman, Sander and Landis, sort of lean forward slightly. All of them now focused on Cassowary. As Landis says, well, come on now, speak up. Details. Tell us what you have in mind. And Cassowary, he kind of looks around nervously. Again, you can tell that this is his first time being in this residence. And he is obviously eager to impress. So he's sort of, he's looking around, and he goes, how familiar are you with secret doors? And as he says this,
Can't believe it. Who would have thought?
Something happens. The world around you begins to melt like paint falling off of a canvas. It becomes smudged, blurry. The world underneath you is giving away as the world above collapses upon you, but it's doing so slowly. Caspian looks up from where he's been investigating and goes, This isn't supposed to happen. This is new. This is new. And you see the image of him fade. Nathaniel, from where he was listening to the conversation, turns and looks to everyone. Right. So this is the duo. And he too is smudged and faded away from reality.
Ruh-roh.
Uncle, no.
I need the
Ruh-roh,
rest
Greg.
of you. I need the rest of you to roll a d10 to try to hang on to this reality for as long as you can.
Oh,
7?
6?
10.
Oh.
No.
1.
He's gone.
Mhm.
Set.
Yes.
You look up from the envelopes, turning back around to see the room again. And as you do, everything you're seeing smears as you look. You lift up your hand, and the hand creates a smear that stays in place in front of you. You begin to move, desperate to call out to the rest of the group to say something. But before you can, the rest of you see Set fade from existence.
It's like Set's gonna set this one out.
Good night, everyone.
Johannes,
Yes.
you have one action, and I will allow you 5 words.
One action and 5 words to just do anything while we're here.
You have enough time to do something, an action,
And remind me what's in front
or
of me.
say 5 words.
Okay. And remind me what's in front of me right now.
You are still a few feet away from the gathering of chairs and couches. Sort of standing right next to you. You're right by where Nathaniel was before he disappeared.
Okay. Can I make an investigation roll to just see if I see one last thing or read anything else quick before I have to vanish that maybe we didn't while we were just listening in?
Go ahead and make an investigation roll. It'll be your last.
10.
Something very ominous about that. It
Right in
will
the
be your
middle.
last.
It will be
You
last.
if you could check one thing in this room, what would it be?
Maybe the table?
Okay. You run forward to try to get a glimpse of anything that's on the table as soon as you possibly can. You see, there's this large plate of charcuterie, that's been laid out for the evening. There is, newspapers stacked up. There is, a couple of scrolls, random notes, what almost appears to be a leather bound almost like a photo book, stuffed to the brim with illustrations.
Can I grab that?
You reach for it, and as you do, your hand fades through it.
Damn.
But you're able to see a title printed upon it, that is Magnifique Dragon.
Magnifique Dragon.
But you can't see anything else, because as you lunge for the book, the world comes up to meet you, and it's all melted and washed and faded, and the remaining members of the party see Johannes fall through the floor, reappear falling through the ceiling, and then fade out halfway down, becoming nothing.
Johannes is gonna set this one out.
Silva,
Yeah.
you have enough time for one action or 5 words.
Okay, so when it comes to the secret door thing, they've just been talking about it. They didn't ever pulled anything out or anything, right?
Yeah, everything that I'm describing is happening almost
Or
immediately.
had we
after
noticed that
one after the other.
they had there was any type of like documents or stuff on just like the table by the conversation.
You could check the table for your action if you wanted to.
Well, I just wasn't sure if they were going over stuff during this conversation.
They had not picked up anything from the table
Yeah.
during the conversation.
Yeah, I was more like, were they like being like, so?
No.
Okay. Well,
One of them writing into a book.
Yes. There was a woman there. There was a woman present. Blue tinged skin, blonde hair, who had a large parchment with her, and a quill was autonomously writing.
I shall take this moment, last moment. I was trying to focus super hard on the actual. No, I'm gonna leave the snooping. Yes. So now, shall see and read what is on the in the book. What is the quill writing? What should I roll for that?
That quill doing?
This will be an investigation.
What the dog doing?
What the quill doing?
I want that people.
That's 25.
You see Johannes fall through the floor and then from the ceiling and disappear. But you did catch what he was trying to reach for. And that gives you the time you need to rush forward and scan the table. The large leather-bound book, he only caught some of the title. Magnifique Dragon. You are able to catch the rest. Cubaran Outpost.
Like that's just the title.
Magnifique Dragon. Cubaran Outpost.
Is it kind of like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon with a comma in the middle?
You do not know.
That's all I'm able to read from it.
No.
Oh, okay.
I mentioned before. I'm just giving you a chance to write things down.
Yeah.
I mentioned before that there was a stack of newspapers on the table as well. The top newspaper shows an image of a burning building with a sensationalist headline, Manor aflame. Possible Ondaran attack suspected. It is a copy of the Corvair Gazette. And it is dated 991 YK.
991
YK.
YK. YK.
YK.
Okay.
Biggest thing I can give this flashback is got it to my praise gratification of suspicions.
Dak. In what feels like seconds, you watch as one by one, every member of your party smears out of reality like oil paint and disappears. All that is left is you and Silva. And as Silva glances down, observing something upon the table, you see her wing bleed into the sky, becoming long and extended, branching out like tree trunk.
I don't feel so good.
As she turns back from the table, the limbs remain in place, and the body extends outward and rotates, creating almost like a starfish pattern of pale white. Your last vision of Silva is akin to that of a butterfly that has been pinned to a board, spread apart. You blink again and she's gone. And you are alone in this room. The walls continue to degrade and crumble down around you. As they do, as reality falls away, you are able to make out just a little bit more of the conversation at the desk, or at the table. Cassowary leaning forward, eyes glimmering, a hunger present in his face, as he says to the group, "My great-grandfather was working on some very important things indeed. It began many years ago, in fact. A message from the king himself. Everything fades, vanishes. You are in darkness. There is nothing here.
Do I still have full control of my body, or is it just? Is it?
You can, but there is no visible light for which to be able to see it. You feel that it is there, but when you look down, it's just...
Okay. And at this point, Dak starts talking to himself in his native tongue. He says, "All right. Find the path. It will lead you out or forward. Out or forward." Dak is going to take a few experimental steps forward. Does anything happen?
You feel cold cobblestone underneath your feet.
Does he have like his items with him?
I don't know, you'll have to check.
He's going to check for a torch.
You feel around, and while you are wearing clothing, as you check your pockets and your robe, you don't seem to be carrying anything on you.
Dak is going to take the information in and then extend his arms and focus is try to cast blessings to make a harmless shower of sparks.
Nothing.
It's no magic. Dak takes that into, considers it. And then he shouts out loud in his native tongue. Hello?
In the distance. Impossible to say how far. A dim light glows. An ember. It hangs in the air. Somewhere.
Follow the path. Don't be led astray by the other of us. And Dak is going to start moving towards that ember.
You continue to hear and feel cobblestone beneath you. It produces its own small echoes of noise. As you approach the light, you begin to take in a very small amount of space that you're able to make out wall. And as you reach with your hand, you can feel indeed that they are there. You are in a small hallway made entirely of stone from floor to ceiling. The walls are slick and moving closer to the ember, it reveals itself to be a torch mounted to the wall.
Yeah, Dak considers that. And then he moves his hand up, not to the torch itself, but to the fire. And puts his hand closer to it.
Do you touch the fire or do you just put it close?
He's testing to see if he can feel the fire. Or if the fire can affect him personally.
God. You do not feel any heat as you bring your hands close. Nor does the fire illuminate your hand.
So like most of the things here, my hand just goes through it.
So you are actually reaching through to touch it? Or to attempt to touch it?
If the fire doesn't hurt me, I'm going to try to touch the base of where the fire meets the torch.
You reach forward and touch, and you feel, to your surprise, the base of the torch within your grasp. But it feels wet. Like it's shifting beneath your fingers. Like clay.
Dak is going to grab hold of the torch. And as he's holding it, he's going to say, in his native tongue, of course, I do not know what is happening here. But you shall remain as you are. And you shall show me the path. I'm going to pull up the torch off the wall.
Make a wisdom saving throw.
Wisdom, the one thing I'm bad at. That's a 17.
Inexplicably, you pull the torch and it pulls away with you, staying in your grasp. But as you move it across your vision, it leaves behind a smear in the air. You now hold the torch in your hand, and it continues to give off this gentle fire.
Now, seeing the smear, is it kind of like when you have uh, the aperture set really low on a camera at night, and you're trying to record lights, and you get that like
Sort of
residual
the
light?
streaming effect.
Yeah,
It is exactly like that.
yeah.
Almost more blotched, but it is very much akin to that effect. As you move the torch, the light stays with the torch, but it also streaks behind in a trail that hangs in the air and stays there.
A fit of childlike wonder hits Dak as he holds the torch in front of him and does a circle, just to see it make a circle in front of him.
It does.
And that raises his spirits just a little bit before he looks towards the available path in front of him.
You do. And someone walks towards you very quickly. A figure enshrouded in shadow walks out of the darkness, striding towards you.
Dak takes a few steps back in surprise. So much so that he forgets to switch over back to Corvalian common, and says, "Stop! Stop!"
The figure rushes towards you, getting right up next to you. Within seconds, they are upon you. Arms to their side. You have only seconds to react, so what you see is it's difficult to process it so quickly. But the body is like it is wearing a suit, like a petticoat in brown. But the suit is melted and degraded and has meshed with the skin. And as the person walks up to you and continues to walk by you, you catch their face in the glow of your torch, and the face is blank and smeared. There are no facial features, and where there would be eyes, there are only sockets that are empty and carved out. The figure rushes past you, saying nothing, continues down the other way, and disappears into darkness once again. And you are alone.
Dak is going to stand there for a hot second, holding the torch, catching his breath. And then he's going to make a decision then and there and run after this figure.
I need you to make another wisdom saving throw.
That's an 18.
You chase after this figure, and eventually you catch up to them. Though it's impossible for you to determine how much time is actually. They continue to walk with purpose before going around a corner. And as they do, they are suddenly stopped in place. You hear the whispering of words, a language you don't understand, and a snap. The figure stops, and as you catch up to them, the world around you is rebuilding itself. The walls become more visible. The person, their clothing becomes more defined. The face fills in, the eyes appearing, hair growing out and outward. brush strokes as the arms and the legs are now fully covered in ornate garment. A aged gentleman stands before you, a blank look of expression upon his face as he stands in the hallway, and you hear the murmured whispers. Where before they were gibberish, seemingly a language outside of your pedigree, they begin to become clear, and you can hear what the voice is saying. The proposal for the door on the northern side of the castle was your idea. Your children and your children's children will live and die believing that you came up with the idea for this passageway. You will not speak a word of it to anyone else. You will not tell any of your superiors, your subordinates, anyone. Your firm will disappear overnight if you tell a soul of what you have done. This list of the materials is exactly what you need. You will build the door exactly as you are contracted to, and you will do it with haste. Make it so. The gentleman, looking blankly says, I will do all these things as you command. And the voice whispering says, very good, Andres Dubois. Your work will be very important in the future, but it must be kept secret for now. Secret for now. Yes. I will build a secret door on the northern wall of the castle. What will I tell my workers? What is it for? There is another snap of the fingers, and Andres once again sort of snaps to attention. You will tell them that it is for the king, by order of the king. If any of them ask questions, you will relieve them of their duty. The door must be built. The future of the royal family depends on it. The door must be built. It will be done. You hear the snap again. And Andre seems to come out of a stupor. Oh, where am I? Oh, goodness. And he goes around the corner. Following close behind him, you turn the corner with him, and there's nobody there. Andres rushes down the path, and as you begin to follow him, the world around you bleeds and falls away once more. I need you to make one more wisdom saving.
Oop, that wasn't. Well, I guess it doesn't matter. 13.
13. You, for the briefest of moments, forget your name.
Which
But
one?
as you remember it, it echoes in your mind. And as everything crumbles away from you, it is replaced. You see people gathered around you on either side. You see a long table. Opposite of you, a short man with a beard glances around nervously, sweating. And you see your friends on either side of you as all of you blink your eyes in confusion and find yourselves back in the war. Vron speaks. Master Dubois, I apologize if it appears that I had summoned you here under false pretenses, but we must know all the information you can provide to us. Please, if there is anything you are withholding that is instrumental to this, speak now.
Dak is gonna evidently look side to side, kind of recombobulate and see where he is.
Everyone, if you would like to make a, this is going to be a dexterity check, flat dexterity.
Flat dex.
24.
20.
14.
Mine is also 24. By that 20.
Nice. You all blink as everything comes back into focus for you, looking around. You feel your arms, legs, the beating of your hearts, the mahogany wood of the table. You are real again.
I'm real.
Real boy.
What was all that?
Vron looks over to Caspian. Who's there we go. Vron looks over to
magnifier, sorry.
Yeah, you're good. Vron looks over to Caspian and says, "Make it quick." And Caspian lifts up his hand and says, "We already did it. We just came back." In his hand, he holds a cylindrical silver device, broken. There is sort of something that looks like a black ink that is dripping from it. The middle of the device has shattered, and it sits broken in his hand. We did it. Catsbury looks around. Did what? I don't understand. What are we referring to? What is this now? What's going on? Caspian looks on either side to the rest of you. Everyone all right? Everyone here?
Dak
Doing all right.
holds up one finger to like indicate to wait, but in Caspian's mind, he hears, "Prince Caspian, how reliable was that technology?"
He stuffs the remains of it into a pocket. First time it's ever been used in the field. And Nebik, sort of glancing over, kind of smirks under his, kind of smirks and huffs under his breath. You hear him say, "Well, there goes 2 years of research down the toilet."
And still in Caspian's head, he hears, "Everything we saw was true. Those were memories." Prince Caspian. Cassiopea's grandfather, a great grandfather, did not make that the corridor. At least he did, but not under the reasons that he believes he did.
Explain.
This is all in the memory, or in the mind, not said out loud. After everybody disappeared, after everybody went away, I saw more. It took me somewhere else, an older memory, something farther and farther away. I saw Andreas the Raw. I presume it to be his great grandfather. I saw Andreas Dubois be contracted by someone to make the secret door at the north side of the castle. I heard that it was to be made for the king. But it did not sound like as if the king actually did commission it.
Make an Arcana check.
I shall.
Arcana. I don't know why I said that. Arcana check.
13.
13. Because I want you to be able to provide as much information as possible from this experience, I think you would be able to recognize that the body language that Dubois showed, you get the sense that Andres Dubois' memory was being modified in that moment.
Oh shit.
And that perhaps it has contributed to the failing structural integrity of the memory that you are occupying. And you can dig deeper because the memory that you were in before that belonged to Cassowary also showed these signs of decay and smearing and disorganization. You're not a proficient spellcaster. You are not a master of the arcane. But the person speaking to Andres Dubois emphasized that his descendants would know of the door. And it stands to reason that if Andres Dubois could have his memory modified of the event, the same thing could be done to his children and to his grandchildren and to his great-grandchild, Cassowary. You believe as much as you can that you entered a modified memory inside of a modified memory.
Wow. Okay.
Perception level shit.
Dak kind of trails off as he's coming to that realization before looking up at Caspian. And still in the mind communication, it says, Prince Caspian has such spells that allow for the manipulation of memories of minds.
Yes.
The memories we saw, the degradation that was not seen before, yes?
It's hard for me to speak to it. I've never. That was my first time engaging in that.
Prince Caspian, believe me when I say this, that it would appear as if those memories were not all altogether true, or rather, some alteration that happened back with Andreas Dubois has transferred all the way down to his descendant, Cassowary, regarding this door. If I have all the information from what I've seen, from what we have seen, the Dubois family were led to believe that the door was being made for the family, for the royal family, and that they would know of the door.
a memory charm passed along an entire genealogy.
It would have to be very powerful magics. It would mean that whoever cast it on it would either have to be an Altavar, a demon, or have some sort of house Dragonmark that could potentially be so potent.
Caspian addresses the room. Cassowary. And he looks up. Yes, yes. Your great-grandfather. What was his name again? Cassowary sort of looks around. Oh, I suppose I didn't actually say, did I? Andreas Dubois. Caspian looks at you, Dak. Small. Could you remind us again what your great-grandfather's stated purpose was for installing the door? Well, it's in the notes here. He was commissioned by the king himself to construct this door on the northern side of the castle. But it was only select people were to be made aware of it, so that it could be used as a means of escape. And Caspian says, "You mentioned 3 before as being part of that commission. Could you elaborate on that?" Yes, I was sort of trying to. It seemed to suggest that 3 was the one who actually commissioned the door initially. I do see his name here, though there's no signature from him stating that he was the one to do so. That's strange. Normally with contracts like these, there's a signature in addition to the name. Very odd. Caspian looks to the rest of you. All of you saw the same room as I did, right?
Yes. Yes, we did.
Correct.
You saw the people that were in attendance.
Correct.
did.
Dak, the voice, the person who modified Andres Dubois' memory. Could you recognize who the voice was?
It would not be hard to do so. No.
What are you thinking?
If presented with a voice, I do believe I might be able to know it.
Interesting.
I mean,
So-
at this point, I'm starting to go into everybody's minds to fill them in on the situation.
When you get to mine, it would
Sure.
just be the. Why don't you just say this?
So, so Jack, you're saying if you were to be given a lineup of voices, basically, you would probably be able to pick out who exactly it was?
I'm going to assume that this is in the mental link that I established when I.
Well, were you saying if you were given the voice thing, if you were saying that out loud with that conversation with Caspian?
Because Caspian was speaking to me out loud, right? Dylan?
Yes.
Okay, then yes.
Okay. So then I'm responding out loud.
Okay.
So you're saying that if you were to have voices to compare against, you would be able to do so, yes?
Yes.
As I say,
How long ago would this have been? How do we Cassowary, how long ago was this commission made?
This was under my great grandfather, multiple generations ago.
And again, if the memory was altered, it happened
the-
at any
I
time.
I would imagine we're looking at close to 150, 180 years ago.
Caspian, who would have been around still from then? Who that we know of? Like three would have been around. But who else?
No, I don't even think 3 would be. You got to understand that length of time ago. That's clashing with before the Warforged had even been created and brought into military service.
I pull.
3, as far as we're aware of, 3 was not conscripted until within the last 30, 35 years.
I pull. I
if you
go up to
recall, the
Caspian.
war ended not that long ago.
Yeah.
I go up.
What wasn't three's name on the document though? Isn't that what we said?
It was, but that doesn't make sense if the time matches up.
The
I
bigger
like. Oh, go ahead.
Dak. Bigger question, Dak, is I guess, did any of the voices that we heard within this flashback sound familiar to you when you heard this voice?
Mr. DM,
Mm-hmm.
did any of the voices that we heard from either flashback sound familiar to one another?
Common thread, I would say.
No. You think for a moment, maybe, possibly. The only person in the room to whom that voice could possibly be connected to would be Norak Landis. However, the voice you heard in the tunnel, while carrying a bit of the same timbre, the inflection was different. It sounded like him about as close as any older male may sound similar to other.
We've heard
Well, who does to say
three
plotting
talk.
coups can't be a familial affair?
We've had conversations with three, correct?
Yes, you all briefly met 3 within the castle itself. Very briefly, and Silva has also had the opportunity to meet 3. Though you are all not aware of that, I don't think, if I remember correctly.
I don't think Silva told us about that.
No, but mostly because inevitably the conversation itself wasn't very important. But we inevitably all were around a conversation with 3. It wasn't short either when we were preparing to go into the woods.
Yeah. So
Like the first set of woods.
What I think I am gonna go ahead and do then is I'm actually going to use minor illusion. Because you can use minor illusion to make a sound of someone else's voice.
Mm-hmm.
And so I am going to use minor illusion to replicate 3 saying Andre Dubois' name.
Okay. The room hears Andre Dubois.
And I look at Dak and Was that anything?
Dak concentrates. Was that anything, Mr. Deal?
I'm gonna be mean.
Yep.
History check.
No. We're gonna
Worse.
do.
Memory check.
Nah, this would be a perception.
Brain.
You
Where's the brain
perfectly know
skill?
that despite this fantastic disguise of being Caspian's son, I am still one-eyed.
A perception is also auditory.
It doesn't matter. It's a 17, nevertheless.
Hey.
Andre Dubois. You think? You mustn't tell anyone, not a soul, Mr. Dubois. Andre Dubois. Dubois. Andre Dubois. The voice in the tunnel carried a slight downward affliction to it. It's similar, but it's not exact.
Would I be able to determine whether or not, first and foremost, does 3 take a breath whenever he speaks?
No.
Did this voice do so?
Yes.
Set. I'm gonna look at Set, shake my head, and say, "If this not a match."
Do we have any other ideas of people that we like? I don't even know if it would be someone that we would know if it was that long ago.
I mean,
But if the memory, we know the memory was altered. If it could have been last week. We don't know that.
I mean, probably not last week, but I kind of
You know what
concur
I mean,
a bit
though.
with Johannes. I think it potentially kind of there are 2 routes. Yes, it is modified. Therefore, it is entirely possible that it is a recency. And then the second potential, or the second realm that it could be around is inevitably that this, this plan, this attempt is multi-generational. Just because currently, seemingly, Norak was pushing in for this information, that doesn't mean that necessarily there couldn't be a family member of past desiring something similar. Or nevertheless, maybe, just maybe, there's another party still at large in this. Inevitably, those are the ones who are in control of 3 and the other Warforged and this conduit. And I hate to question this now, but over the conversation we have been having here, I must ask. Although the name, as Marshall needs to double check the name because I am terrible at memory. Okay, got it. I must ask. This is for the room as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
What does everyone in this room? Wait, it was actually remind me. Who is in, like, of the people we know, who is in this room?
Of the
Nice.
people you know.
Yes, that we have met.
Yes. Cassowary, Caspian, Nebik. Also in the room, though she hasn't said anything this entire time, is Deirdre. And you now know Vron. I don't know about on good terms, but you now know Vron.
Bull- right. What does everyone know about what Tyus called you has been getting into? Because question comes into, he was eerily suspicious about wanting to use his magic at his apartment. He then disappears momentarily within an attack on his apartment. We are then pushed into, or we are then invited to this meeting, or at least to go to the Velvet Curtain. Who else, as far as we know, has this magical capacity to create this arcanic conduit?
As Silva says that, Set will kind of rub the wool again and do the same thing, but with Matthias's voice now.
You all remember. Actually, sorry. Let's get something out of the way first. Marshall, do you have an inspiration right now?
Man, do I? Let me find out. No, I don't.
Go ahead and give yourself inspiration.
Woohoo!
Huge big brains.
You all recall. I didn't mean to rhyme there. Sitting in Matthias Calder's apartment. As he spoke to you and requested a trick from Set. You recall the effect of his voice, the timbre, the pitch. Andre Dubois. Could you make this egg disappear? Andre Dubois. Disappear. Dubois. Disappear. One and the same.
Oh,
Can't believe it. It was the wizard. It was the
Fuck did
wizard.
we forget that this man is a thing.
This
Because I was distracted by
this
the man who
magic
wants.
man.
I was distracted by the man who wants to instigate a coup.
Yeah.
I guess we were also distracted by a body flying through the window and then having to run away, and then
mean,
just
we-
being like, "Well, I guess he's gone. We don't have to worry about Matthias Calder
to be fair,
anymore."
we made no. To be fair to ourselves, at one point, like before going to Velvet Curtain, we did like obviously make the note where like, you know, what the fuck was up with that?
Yeah.
You know, but like that was the big thing, was that I think it was just because of probably the connection between, you know, Caspian kind of seemed to have like a seemingly distant or at least distinct relationship, or at least a positive one. You know, he was around. I believe he was around when, you know, you were being resurrected. It was, you know, there was that like inherent, you know, building of an ability to trust. But yeah, you know who also could very easily then have the ability to, you know, potentially disguise self, if you will? A wizard.
A wizard.
The minute Dak realizes they were the same voice, he's not going to say anything out loud. He's going to instead look over to Caspian.
And internally scream to Zen, but just send the scream to Caspian.
Yeah. And just he doesn't shake his head in affirmation, but he does say in his mind, That is the voice I heard. And I'm going to then repeat that sentence to the rest of the party.
Out loud or individually to each of our minds?
Individually to each of your minds, because
Great.
I can only
Consistency.
communicate with one person at a time.
Consistency.
Jesus Christ.
You've spoken
just
out loud
happy-
before, right?
No, I said it in his mind.
I'm just saying, in general, you've spoken out loud before, right?
Yes,
Your
yes, I have.
character can speak, right?
Yes.
I'm starting
Here's
to
the
forget.
Dak doesn't understand or know who should know what information. So in this situation where information is more valuable at the moment, he's going to defer to Caspian, who seems to know his way around this politically charged area, and be like, hey, this is the information, do with it what you will. I trust that you're going to do it to our benefit.
Dak had a scary day today. I
did.
think everybody's had kind of a scary day today. He just watched the world melt for a little bit. You know, it's
I watched all you fuckers melt.
I watched most of everyone else melt, okay? I was there with you for most of them.
Yours was the weirdest.
Because I held on the longest before you. Anyway.
Yeah, so I think we all kind of then just like look over to Caspian.
This is complicated suddenly.
Caspian takes both hands and places them on the table. Everyone in the room has their attention focused to him as he speaks.
Yeah, real quick before he says anything, did anyone show like signs of recognition of Matthias's voice when it played?
Oh, anyone outside of your group?
Yeah, like the other people in the room. Did they show signs of recognizing the voice?
Make an insight check, my dude.
10.
10.
Yeah.
Nebik did.
Yeah, we know
Deirdre did.
Yeah. Ooh.
Cassowary did. Vron did not.
Of the people that I expected with that role to see a reaction from, Vron was the one that I was like, yeah, I probably can't see shit from him. But interesting, both Deirdre and Cassowary. Well, I mean, Cassowary would have been, because Matthias was part of that group or whatever, so he would have probably known him. But Deirdre knew Nebek had a relationship with him, so. All right, what does Caspian say? Sorry for the tangent.
Guards. We need you to take Cassowary Dubois and put him in chains. He is to be retained here at the King's Citadel until further notice, under suspicion of an attempted assassination on the King's life. We believe that there is modification at play. Though he may not be fully guilty, his connection to the matter at hand is too severe for us to allow him to leave at this time. Arrest him. And at that, two of the guards swoop in on either side of Cassowary and take him by the arms and pull him back. He looks around frantically like, oh, wait, hold on. Oh, wait, explain what's happening. What's going on here? They won't harm you. This is a precaution. Has to be done. And Cassowary is dragged from the room. Vron looks to Caspian and says, I hope you know what you're doing. Caspian says, I don't. That's why you know you can trust me. Vron nods. We only have so much time before we need to enact our plan. All of you arrived rather late, so allow me to explain what the initial idea was. With the newly acquired information we have in regards to the hidden door in question, it would behoove us to use this information to our advantage. I believe that we can provide a distraction by approaching the castle from the southern gate. Now, we won't have everyone collect there. We'll send a few infantrymen to the western side as well. Our goal will be to divert attention away from the northern and eastern sides of the castle. Our goal is not to incite violence or to cause any rash decisions to be made on the Warforged's part, but only to keep their attention drawn to us, while you all access the castle through this hidden door. Infiltrate from the inside. Brief us from within. And if you can, work to exfiltrate as many of the hostages from the castle as possible. For you to do that, however, you will all need to be at full strength. By my reckoning, there is just enough time. If you need, you may take a long rest here at the Citadel where you are safe. When you awake, we will enact the plan. The rest of my infantry need time to prepare. What say you? Are you willing to take on this mission for king and country?
I think that's the only option. I'm in.
Of course.
Caspian looks to Vron again. One more thing, Lordship. I believe we should call for the arrest of Norak Landis under the suspicion of treason towards the crown. Vron nods. If we can find him, it will be done. And speaking of done, that will be the end of tonight's session.
This session.
Next time we meet, you will all be able to take part in a full night's rest, hopefully without any issues.
Yeah, sleepover.
Woo.
And it will finally be time to enact the rescue mission upon Castle Broken Blade. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for playing. And remember, when an artist creates a portrait, it is within their control the vagueness or the sharpness of the features. It all depends on the stroke of a brush and how long it takes for the paint to dry. See you next time.